Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 5th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully, you've had a good Monday. You got that lasagna. Let's see. I will say, despite it being a good day, I definitely kind of like, I don't know. I felt like I almost had like a chip on my shoulder. I was feeling like very like, I don't know, antagonistic, if you will. But it is what it is. Maybe that's just Monday being Monday. Maybe that's just, I don't know, me being a little grump. It happens. But overall, I do feel good. It's definitely one of those things where, I'm about to press play and I'm like, no, today was definitely a good day. And I'm happy about that. Let's see here. Food Corner. Food Corner was a little bit different. I had the remaining half of that Velveeta cheese from my failed experiment. And I was like, well, what are we going to do with it? So I said, hey, let's just make some beefy cheesy mac. I feel like that's really pretty hard to fuck up. And I didn't fuck it up, so that was good. I will say it wasn't the best meal ever, but it was definitely really good. I could eat it again, which means overall good, mission complete. I just have to just stick to the staples when it comes to Velveeta cheese. Put it with some fucking beef, put it with some noodles, whatever. You'll be good. So that was a good learning experience. Good learning experience for me. Yes, yes. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That's the food corner. That's the life update as we know it. Work was working. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and take my startup, and then we'll get into some news. Oh yeah. Ooh. Excuse me. All right, our first story comes from The Guardian. At least 112 dead as authorities struggle to contain forest fires in Chile. Firefighters are wrestling with huge forest fires that broke out in central Chile on Friday. Officials have extended curfews in cities most heavily affected by the blazes and said the death toll has increased to 112. Now, before I had covered this, like as of yesterday, it was sitting at 99. Was it expecting to go up? So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it even goes up from this 112. But if I do hear anything major, I'll definitely keep you posted on that. The fires have been burning with the highest intensity around the city of Vina del Mar, where a botanical garden founded in 1931 was destroyed by the flames. At least 1,600 people have been left without homes. Let's see here. Rodrigo Mundaca, the governor of the Valparaiso region, said on Sunday he believed that some of the fires could have been intentionally caused, replicating a theory that had also been mentioned on Saturday by the president, Gabriel Boric. But right now, they're still investigating. They're still, doing rescue. So hopefully, I can, come back to you guys with some good news on this front. But I definitely just wanted to go ahead and cover it. And also not just speculation in terms of who done it? Was it arson? Let's see. During the fires broke out during a week of record high temperatures in central Chile. Over the past 2 months, the El Nino weather pattern has caused droughts and high temperatures in western South America that have also increased the risk of forest fires. So, I mean, this could also be a perfect storm situation of weather being involved or maybe being the only culprit. We don't know yet. But speaking of El Nino, this bit of side news while we segue into some other stuff. I know there's a lot of weather, like bad weather going on in California. Something about atmospheric river or something like that. But I know it's like kind of an El Nino related thing, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not a weatherman, not a scientist. But yeah, just some happenings going on. Some bad weather, potentially bad actors, who knows? But definitely, my heart goes out to, the people of Chile. I mean, something like that is just so devastating. It's your whole life. And, even surviving that is good. It's great. But, you're just left in a whole whirl of what am I going to do next? What am I going to do for my family? So definitely condolences to them. Let's move on to the next beat from the BBC. Pakistan, at least 10 killed in attack on police station. At least 10 officers have been killed in an hours-long assault on a police station in Pakistan. The officers lost their lives after more than 30 militants launched the attack in the early hours of Monday. Four others were injured in the 2.5-hour battle. Khyber I cannot pronounce this. Putunkawa's provincial police chief told news agency AFP. It is not clear who is behind the attack, if it was related to the election being held on Thursday. So yeah, I know I've talked a lot about Pakistan as of last week, just with a lot of the Imran Khan news making the rounds. But, this has been happening. Also, they have at the end of this article, meanwhile, last week in Balochistan, a province in Pakistan's southwest with the second highest number of attacks and fatalities last year, a political leader was also shot and killed in his party's election office, and a bomb attack following a political rally killed at least 4 people. The Islamic State claimed responsibility for that attack. The military also killed 24 militants in an anti-terror operation in Balochistan last week. So, Pakistan is definitely got a lot going on. Things are very active and moving. I'll try to keep you posted with the election stuff, when that kind of comes down the pipe to me. If there's any more Imran Khan news or, any updates on, any more like political civil unrest. Definitely a lot going on there. But from one spot to another, let's move on from Al Jazeera. Senegal Parliament to vote on election delay and Sall tenure extension. Senegal's parliament is meeting to consider the postponement of presidential elections announced by President Macky Sall, a move that has plunged the country into crisis. Monday's session is happening after a day of violent street protests in the capital Dakar, during which at least one senior opposition figure was arrested, and growing international concern. Lawmakers are voting on a proposal to postpone the presidential poll, previously set for February 25th, for up to 6 months. The text before them will need the support of 3/5 of the 165-seat parliament to pass. Now, I have no idea how that's going to go, but definitely there has been things that post Sall's announcement Saturday has definitely set things off in Senegal in a very bad way. Mainly just with we can just kind of go through it a little bit. On Sunday, the government ordered a private television broadcaster off the air for incitement of violence over its coverage of the protest, another sign of mounting political tension in the country. There was also restriction of motorcycle movements in Dakar on Monday, even as security has been reinforced in the capital. The government also restricted internet connections in part of the country, with a statement from the Ministry of Communication, Telecommunications, and Digital Economy saying this was due to dissemination of several hateful and subversive messages relayed on social networks in context of threats and disturbances to the public order. You could also say that this is just a really bad, very bold-faced suppression campaign. And you just don't want people to be talking anymore about this shit, and you don't want them to be organizing at all. And this is a way to kind of quash it. But there's more. Just before the legislative debate began, security forces used tear gas to disperse an opposition rally outside the parliament building. These are not people who are shooting off or doing anything like that, to my knowledge. These are people who are just doing a rally, doing a protest, and you're like, oh yeah, break this shit up violently. That doesn't seem good. That doesn't seem on the level, if you ask me. Oppositional leaders have used the term constitutional coup to describe the current situation, which they say is an assault on democracy. Saul has also kind of gone out of his way to ensure that like his pick, because he can't run again, it would be very controversial if he did. So he's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. No, 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 no. And part of what he's saying is like, well, you guys are mad at how I've been conducting things, like banning people from running, like the government has been, maybe not so much him. But essentially, there's been candidates who are like, oh, you can't run actually because you have dual citizenship. When these people are like super good candidates, like they're people that are primed to be running. Well, let me go ahead and just read. The dispute Sal blamed for the delay to the election arose out of the decision by the Constitutional Court to exclude Kareem Wade, son of former President Abdoulaye Wade, from running for presidency. He was barred because he allegedly also holds French citizenship, a decision he denounced as scandalous. Also, to my knowledge, at least listening to like BBC a little bit on this shit, that Wade wasn't the only person who's kind of been going through this kind of ringer of like, oh, you have dual citizenship, you can't run. Actually, you're done. I think there's also someone who has been put in jail. Also barred from running is firebrand anti-establishment figure Osumane Sonko, who has been jailed since July of 2023. His surrogate, Basiru Dimoe Faye, has been approved to run and emerge as a credible contender to win, a nightmare scenario for the president's camp. So, I mean, to me, from my perspective, I feel like this is just bad governing, from Sal and his administration. And they are trying to extend, their run. I should have had who he wanted to have in his stead, but I'm not finding it. But he essentially just wants to have his prime minister take over for him. And it doesn't look like that's really what the people want. But now he's saying, okay, well, I'll kick the can then. Let's just hold off on this shit. And it's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if that really is going to work. Sal, who last year ruled out running for a controversial third term, had designated Prime Minister Amadou Ba from his party, who would be his would-be successor. But yeah, I mean, we will see what the fate of Senegal will be. Hopefully, the protesting and things of that nature goes better. And really, I'm not saying that on the side of the protesters, but hopefully just on the government end. But you never know. Hopefully they can come to, a conclusion that makes sense, that is fair, and it's not going to be some kind of fucking graft or scandal. But you never know. You never know. That's part of why I like doing this shit, is that this shit keeps me on my toes. It's the same shit in so many ways, but in so many different permutations, and that just keeps me coming back. So, and plus I got no choice. It's life. I gotta wake up and just deal with this shit, and I might as well talk about it, right? But yeah, we got a couple more things to get through, and then we'll call it. The next one is from CNN. New problem found on Boeing 737 MAX planes. Man, the hits keep on coming. Or should I say the screws keep on coming loose? I don't know. A new problem has been found during the production of 737 MAX jets that will force Boeing to rework about 50 planes that have not yet been delivered. The problem was disclosed in a memo sent to Boeing employees Sunday by Stan Deal, the head of the company's commercial aircraft unit. An employee at Boeing supplier Spirit Aerosystems, which makes the fuselages of the 737 MAX jets, notified the plane maker that two holes may have not been drilled exactly to Boeing's requirements, according to the deal's memo. While this potential condition is not an immediate flight safety issue and all 737s can continue operating safely, we currently believe we will have to perform rework on about 50 undelivered planes. Spirit Aerosystems confirmed in a statement that it misdrilled the holes. So that's a big oops in a way. I mean, if you didn't have the history that Boeing had, I think this is something that would just fly under the radar in so many ways. And it's like, what do you mean? It's like this is like, safety in the air, but it's like, okay, but as long as it's not going to hurt anybody and you can easily fix it, it's 50, right? This isn't that big a deal. But when you just look at the just super negative history that Boeing has kind of racked up in the past, 10 years or so, It's just one of the many pangs that you just don't want to see, and it's something that, like I hear people talking about when they go to fly, that they're now curious, like what kind of plane they're on. Is it a Boeing? Is it one of those? Am I going to potentially have to fear for my life? Which is a shame, right? Because that's not the kind of thoughts you want to have on your expensive plane flight going from point A to point B or whatever. But that being said, I do think it's important to keep talking about this kind of stuff. It's kind of the only way to hold these companies accountable, it seems. And you hope that they're taking it seriously. They're not just worrying about their bottom line like they kind of have been. And maybe they don't just keep downshipping things and say, hey, no, let's have our people really focus on the safety. Let's really focus on making sure these planes don't go out with issues and problems, that's the fucking hope. Though I haven't heard, not really reporting anything bad. So I guess in some ways this is like a silver lining. Like, hey, they're catching something, and these planes aren't going to go out with these issues. So yay that. But it just doesn't feel like it, right? It feels like, oh man, another time that Boeing's in the news for some fucked up shit potentially. A near miss. Whew, glad no one died this time. Anyway. Let's move on. I have one more thing to cover. So you know what that means. I'm going to take my last break. And we'll cover it. It's not, it's big to some, maybe, it's everyday news to some, sadly, I guess. But, I guess it's kind of on theme for a little bit. But let me do it. Let me do my thing. Okay, from the BBC. King Charles III diagnosed with cancer, Buckingham Palace says. So yeah, what I mean on theme is I was talking in a previous episode about how, like, I was listening to the BBC talking about how, like, by 2050 everybody's gonna have fucking cancer. You know what I mean? And sure enough, old sausage fingers, he's got it. Oh, but King Charles has been diagnosed with a form of cancer, says Buckingham Palace. The type of cancer has not been revealed. It is not prostate cancer, but was discovered during his recent treatment for an enlarged prostate. So they were just in the area, and they're like, oh, something's going on here. He's 75 years old. They're saying it looks positive. You never know. I'll keep you posted, for any highlights, anything along the way. But I figured, hey, we'll just go ahead and just throw this in here so people know, I'm doing my job. But yeah, I really don't have any other thoughts about it. Like, I don't want to be that guy who's like, yeah, good. No, I don't feel like doing that today. That's not the vibe. But at the same time, it's King Charles. Do I feel that bad if something happens to him? No, I don't. I'm not gonna lose fucking sleep. That's for goddamn sure. But yeah, best of luck with that shit. Cancer fucking sucks. I really actually don't wish that on anybody, you know what I mean, when I'm really thinking about it. But if I will say, hey, better them than one of mine's, you feel me? One of my people. I hate to say that shit, but it's a dog-eat-dog world, you feel me? Anyway, enough of me being morbid and whatever. That's the episode. That's all I have. Let's see here. If you'd like to help out and support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Let's see here. I do have a free way to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. You can email me right now. Also, things you can do right now. You can follow me on any social media platform. I'm probably there, if not me, the podcast. And hopefully you're following me on, or not following, what's the word? Subscribe to me on the YouTube. It means a lot. It helps out a lot. I'm trying to push those algorithm numbers all the way up. So, like this episode, and leave a cool comment, and maybe do that on another platform if you're listening on like Spotify or Apple. That would be the tops, baby. Anyway, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.